Ready to go live. So I'm going to read the Moorish Leaders' Historical Message to America. Pay attention to what I'm saying to you guys. Listen to understand. Don't just listen to respond, but literally listen to understand what's being said. This was brought so long ago. Shonda, tell me if you can get on. I'm not sure if you're still over here on TikTok, but let me know if you can get on this StreamYard. I'm waiting for you over here. But as I'm going to read this, the Moorish Leaders' Historical Message to America, in connection with the aims, objects, rules, and regulations of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, I deem it proper to submit to you a brief statement of our organization, covering its inception, rise, and progress, and of the Mohammedan religion, which I hope will be satisfactory to you and be the means of causing you at all times to adhere to the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. In your relations with mankind in general, I further most anxiously hope that this brief statement will help you to more clearly see the duty and wisdom of at all times upholding those fundamental principles which are desired for our civilization of our posterity, such as obedience to law, respect and loyalty to government, tolerance and unity. Right? It's probably gonna kick me out, but let me see what it does. Okay. So let me back in. Back in we go. Let's see. Is she back? Is she up there yet? Not yet. Okay. So, we organized as the Moorish Temple of Science in the year of 1925, and we're legally incorporated as a civic organization under the laws of the state of Illinois, November 29th of 1926. The name Moorish Temple of Science was changed to the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, May of 1928, in accordance with the legal requirements of the Secretary of State of Illinois. The object of our organization is to help in the great program of uplifting fallen humanity and teach those things necessary to make our members better citizens. A national organization with a Rotarian complexion. Do you guys know what a Rotarian complexion is? A Rotarian complexion. Let's look up the word Rotarian. A Rotarian complexion. What does that mean? Anybody know what Rotarian complexion means? Hmm? No, I guess not, huh? Rotarian complexion. We're about to look that up right now. A Rotarian complexion, which they're not going to put it right here, right? Okay. Diversity and inclusion. Really? Mm. Oh, really? Rotarians. Rotarian. Oh, oh, really? Mm. So with a Rotarian complexion, the Rotarian thing sounds more like a spirit, like the energy you must carry within you. Because let me say what this says. Rotary International is a global service. Even though this says Rotarian people, I'm going to get to that part. It's a global service club that values diversity and inclusion, regardless of a person's race, ethnicity, and any other identity. Rotarians are members of Rotary clubs, which are often made up of business leaders, government officials, and leaders of non-governmental organizations. This is what a Rotarian complexion looks like. Diversity and inclusion. Does this sound familiar? DEI, So this has been around before DEI was ever invented, guys. Rotarian international values, diversity and inclusion. You hear international, not talking about just on one spot, talking internationally, because these are international things. The law of the land is international. The Rotary International values diversity and inclusion and celebrates the contributions of people from all backgrounds. So because it ain't called DEI, don't mean that it ain't there. Check out what the MEI is all about. Rotarians are volunteers who work together to serve local initiatives and humanitarian projects. This is the Rotarian complexion of this national organization. So it didn't have nothing to do with this. It has everything to do from what's within you. This is the character that's within you that really contributes to this Rotarian complexion of this national organization. Rotarians are committed to creating lasting change and making the world a better place. A Rotarian complexion. So you thought complexion meant skin color. No, it means your spirit. It means your energy. It means really, what is your spirit like? What is your soul like? What is it? Rotarians. The attitude of a Rotarian even tells you the attitude of a Rotarian. Rotarians are humble, sincere, and sympathetic. Rotarians follow the four-way test, and do not favor wealth or broadcast of possessions or achievements. Rotarians speak with frankness and sincerity. A Rotarian is an energy. It's a spirit of a people. The Rotarian pin. Effective Rotarians proudly wear their Rotarian pin and clothing. It's like the Moors that wear their garbs, or when we wear our turbans with our pin, or when the Masons might wear their fezzes with their decorations. It's still you're proud. You're proud to wear this on you. It's something to be proud of. Even when our Nigerian brothers and sisters come over here and they dress in their traditional clothing, it's what they're proud of. The Rotarian complexion is proud of where they come from. Some famous Rotarians include royalty such as Prince Charles. Well, we know that came from us. We were there before they got there, right? We were there way before they got there. So this Rotarian complexion is not what people think it is. Islam, Sister Shonda. I was reading from the literature, and I am at the Moorish Leaders Historical Message to America. I'm not sure if you ever received that one, but if not, I know I could get Brother John to send you a digital copy of it.
Yes, please do.
Okay. So in here where I was, it talks about a national organization, that this being a national organization with a Rotarian complexion. I don't know if you was able to hear me break down what a Rotarian actually is,
Mm-hmm. No,
but
I didn't hear
it has a lot to do with your character. You did hear it? Okay. So it got to do with your character. So I'm going to continue on, and then we're going to get into what we came to speak about. But these are current events, as I was saying. These are two current events that are right now need to be spoke on. They need to be taught about, because it will help us free our minds, free ourselves from what's going on. So a national organization with a Rotarian complexion as it relates to branch temples became obvious with the increasing numbers of inquiries from men and women in different sections of the country concerning the purpose of the organization. There are branch temples in 15 different states at this time. That was back in the 1920s. Cook County Recorder's Office. Wait, oh, my fault. What did I know? Hold on. At this time, since the work of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science was largely religious, the organization has been legally changed to a religious corporation and an affidavit to this effect has been properly filed in Cook County Recorder's Office in Illinois. That clerk, that county clerk is something else, can make some things work, can't they? They make things shake, the county clerk do.
Mm.
Inspired by the lofty teachings of the
Mm.
Quran, we have it as the revealed word God of God Allah. We shall foster the principles of its teachings among our members. This is our religious privilege as American citizens, under the laws of one of the greatest documents of all time, the American Constitution. That's being spoke about a lot right now, this American Constitution, and that's why we should be more involved in reading the Constitution, researching the Constitution, understanding the Constitution, because just because we read it don't mean we understand it. And that's where in school, what it was called language arts, and they would say you might have had a reading impediment or a reading disability due to the fact that you might could read words, but it's not that you're understanding what you're reading. So the comprehension part is what's lost with a lot of us. We think because we could say a word and it's in our face that, hey, I got it. But not understanding that this language arts that we were taking in school, it was to help us be more comprehensive readers than just a reader. Islam,
Mm.
would you like to
Yes,
say
ma'am.
anything before I continue?
No, go ahead, sis. I'm listening.
Okay. The religion of Islam is the least appreciated and probably the most misunderstood of the world's great religions. This is especially true in our Western world. Try to understand what Islamism stands for and some of the things it has contributed to the world. Muhammad was the founder of the Uniting of Islam religion. It originated 13 centuries ago on Arabian Peninsula, where the streams of commerce and culture met and mingled in the Middle Ages, where the markets of exchange were stationed for treasures of India and the products of the Mediterranean coast. There, this religion was established in the unprecedented short period of 20 years, and unlike many other religions, without the aid of any royal patronage and support. Buddhism had its Ashoka, Judaism had its Joshua, Christianity is Constantine, but Mohammedanism had no person of royal rank and power to assist in its establishment and spread. Today, this religion is acknowledged by nearly 250 million souls and extends over an area equal to 1/3 of the globe. From Arabia, it spread eastward over Persia, Turkestan, Afghanistan, westward across Syria, Asia Minor, Turkey, southward to Africa, covering more than half of that continent. It found its way to India and beyond, to the islands of Sumatra, Java, and Borneo. To the early representatives of this faith, the world's debt is incalculably great, for it was they who transmitted the treasures of Greek literature from the Middle Ages to the Renaissance. They who originated the graceful forms of which the Taj Mahal and the Alhambra are the most famous examples. It was they who contributed to the science of algebra and chemistry, astronomy, and medicine. They who dotted the Sassanid Empire with universities and who built at Baghdad and Cairo the most renowned universities of the world. During those centuries of ecclesiastical despotism, when the Christian church suppressed all intellectual activities, save those that were theological, causing the talent that reproduces to supplant the genius that creates. Did you hear that? Let me say that
Mm-hmm.
again. Causing the talent that reproduces to supplant the genius that creates. Mohammedans did all in their power to encourage and stimulate research in every branch of human inquiry. The Moors or Mohammedans added to the beauty and grandeur of Spain. For centuries, art, science, literature, and chivalry flourished among them, while the rest of Europe was still sunk in the gloom of the Dark Ages. The Moors were the most ingenious and industrious of the subjects of Spain. Their expulsion from Spain in 1610 was one of the chief causes of decadence of that country, for both agriculture and industry fell into decay after their departure. Islamism makes no distinction between high and low, rich and poor. It is like the sky. It has room for all. I'm going to say it again. Islamism, which is our religion, and it's the practice, it's the study, it's to apply it to us, is why we say it's Islamism, not just Islam. Islamism makes no distinction between high and low, rich and poor. It is like the sky, it has room for all. The Quran should be of interest to all readers. It is the Bible of the Muslims, ruling over the customs and actions of over 600 millions of people. It is a work of importance, whether considered from a religious, philosophical, or literary viewpoint. In the promotion of plans for the betterment of mankind, there has never been some kind of opposition. And strange as it may seem, such opposition has come from those sources where there were no ideas or the lack of courage to force attention to ideas. Whether in church, state, or social community, any attempt to do anything out of the usual way seldom fails to receive criticism. Not because the course cannot be pursued legally or that it is unreasonable, but because it has been considered in terms as new. The Moorish Holy Temple of Science has received some opposition, and criticism in the main opposition has come from certain Christian ministers. They have expressed themselves as being opposed to our propagation of the religion of Islam, possibly because the promotion of the Mohammedan faith among our people in the United States is considered by them in terms as something new. Whatever the reason may be for their opposition, the legal right to oppose citizens, individuals, and organizations alike for their religious belief does not exist in the United States at all. The door of religious freedom made by the American Constitution swings open to all, and people may enter through it and worship as they desire. Without religious freedom, no search for truth would be possible. Without religious freedom, no discover of truth would be useful. Without religious freedom, religious progress would be checked, and we would no longer march forward toward the nobler life which the future holds for the races of man. Without religious freedom, there would be no inspiration to lift our heads and gaze with fearlessness into the vast beyond, seeking a hope eternal. It is a sad weakness in us, after all, to oppose our fellow man for their religious belief. And if there are angels who record the sorrows of man as well as their sins, they certainly know how many and deep are the useless sorrows that spring forth from such opposition. Mm. Possibly love and time will cancel our ancient hatreds in this regard and prove that in mankind, tolerance is better than unwarranted opposition. In connection with our religious aims and beliefs, we must promote economic security. The preaching of economic security among us is by no means as widespread and intensive as the circumstances demand. No other one thing is more needed among us at this time than greater economic power, better positions for our men and women, more business employment for our boys and girls, and bigger incomes will follow our economic security. We shall be secure in nothing until we have economic power. I'm talking to AKA Moors, Black people, Asiatic, African American, whatever you want to call yourself. We will be secure in nothing until we have economic power. A beggar people, as Donald Trump was saying today, if you're complaining, if you don't want to be here, you don't have to be here. Because guess what? A beggar people cannot develop the highest in them. nor can they attain a genuine enjoyment of the spiritualities of life. We have to get this for ourselves, y'all. Stop thinking somebody's coming to give you anything. This is where we're still slaves in our mind. You're mad because they taking this away. You're mad because they taking that away. Y'all don't know what to be mad about. You want them to poison your food instead of give you good food. Like it's crazy how we are, but we don't even realize that we're such a beggar people. And we won't obtain anything being that way. I'm you want to say something, love?
No, I'm just signifying what you saying, sis. You telling the truth. Oh, yeah.
Our men, women, and children should be taught to believe in the capacity of our group to succeed in business, in spite of the trials and failures of some of them. Trials and failures in business are by no means confined to any particular group of people. Some business ventures of all people fail. We have many men and women among our people who are qualified both by training and experience. What did he just say about this DEI? They got to get rid of it because it's stopping people that really have the experience, the intelligence, and the merit to do what they need to do. That's why so many of us are held back. So many people out here got all these degrees, spend all this money in school, and can't find one job because everybody's in a job because they know somebody, not because they got the talent, the integrity, the intelligence, or none of that. None of that. They don't. And you're mad for what? We have many men and women among our people who are qualified both by training and experience, who are shining lights in the business world of all the people. It is a sad weakness in us as a people that we have withheld the very encouragement, support, and patronage that would have made some of our worthy business ventures a grand success. And worst of all, have joined in the condemnations of them when they failed. Except in cases of actual dishonesty, discourtesy, lack of service, and actual unreliability. Our business enterprises in every field of endeavor should have fullest of confidence, cooperation, and patronage whenever and wherever they can be given. Read carefully the doctrines of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science. It contains our hopes, aims, rules, articles of religion. Every member should have a copy. In conclusion, I urge you to remember there is work enough for all to do
Hello.
in helping to build a better world. The problem of life are largely social and economic. And it didn't even just say our life. It says that is like that's largely a part of life.
Hello.
It is a profound sense. In a profound sense, they are moral and spiritual. So social and economic is really moral and spiritual. That's what we don't got that. That's our problem. Is moral and spiritual. Have lofty conceptions of our duties to our country and fellow man in general, and especially those with whom you deal. This includes such honesty and righteousness as will cause you to put yourself in other fellows' place. Look for the best in others and give them the best that is in you. Have a deeper appreciation for womanhood. Brighten the hopes of our youth in order that their courage be increased to dare and do wondrous things. Adhere at all times to the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I am your affectionate leader. I shall continue to labor night and day, both in public and in private, so in spirit and in flesh, for your good, thereby contributing to the welfare of our country and its people as a whole. Noble Drew Ali. This came from 1920, and today we are talking about this same thing. Are we not, Sister Shonda?
Yes,
Today,
yes,
this
we are.
letter holds. This message holds.
Mm-hmm. That's what's going on right now today.
In so many ways. Like, and it's funny because I want you to speak on. We found so many things today, and our problem is because we don't read. That is our problem. We want to go off of our emotions for everything we hear somebody say. Ain't went and took the time to read one of the documents, one of the pages, the preface, the prefix, the content page, the back of it, and the index. Ain't took time to do none of that. We just going off of our emotions and words. Right,
Absolutely.
Sister Shirley?
Absolutely. That's all we're going off of is emotions and our own words because we're not looking at the information that's being presented. We're looking at the reactions that is being put out there and we're calling that information. And it's not. When I'm by looking at the reactions, I mean the news, the media, our friends that are making miscellaneous and um, misleading posts on social media based off how they feel. Like you said earlier, what is it you said? It's privilege. We're so used to begging for privileges that we don't even know our rights anymore.
Mhm.
We look at all these different government amendments and executive orders, and we can't even look at the coded language to see that they're still calling us not American citizens. They're still classifying us as less than if we want if you choose to identify with that stuff and you want to hang on to those things, those laws and rules and regulations were made for people that were less than human, were not American citizens. So it doesn't apply to us. So why are we begging and crying and screaming for these things? It's crazy. And the stuff we discovered today was off the chain.
Wasn't it? I mean, we discovered some things.
Hmm.
We discovered some stuff today that was very.
Yes, like I don't think nobody really thinks communism when we think about America. But that,
No, they don't.
mm-mm. But when
Most ain't thinking about it.
right, and when you look, when I got to, I looked into the definition some more after you and I had got off the phone, and then you see I
Mhm.
sent you the screenshot of the brother.
Yes, of Marx.
Yeah, I never knew he was a melanated brother. I never looked at an image of him. I've just heard the name. I've heard of Marxism, and it's like, wow, this is
And
a
and it's named after what is his name? Is it Kent? What was his first name?
Carl.
Karl Marx.
Mhm.
Mark is a name right after one of us. But then it makes sense because J. Edgar Hoover, which was never a president, he was the director of the FBI and the Bureau of Investigation, the BOI and the FBI, right? So
Mhm.
if he was that passing, and he was passing. How
Yes,
he
and
gonna be working with his own that was against their own,
mm,
against their own.
yep. And I haven't seen people talking much about Martin Luther King on social media, but I know that you and some other people told me they seen some things, and it's like even in that space, we're not even looking at the facts of what is meant to be seen in that space. Um,
Nope.
and when you get to digging in these documents, we came across what was that document called? The memorandum, a memorandum from the government on documents on Martin Luther King and how he started, and how they were using him for communism. And as I got to digging into the definitions of communism, and it's like, we're still slaves. They
Mhm.
literally used Martin Luther King to preach integration to us, which was really just a tricky way of saying, y'all make America great. Y'all come and build America for us. Y'all come and work for our companies. Leave your own people, leave your own company, because they needed to establish classism. They needed to, well, it was already
Mhm.
established, but they needed to lock us into the lower level of classism. And Martin Luther King, the March on Washington was an orchestrated event. That's what these documents are letting us know. It was
Yeah.
a orchestrated event to get us to believe in communism because
Mhm.
integration was just like a code. You might as well say it was a code word for communism, is what it was.
Mhm. Mhm.
And we need to look at how we're still doing that to each other, and look at how we're begging for the crumbs that he's taking away the classism. That's what's being removed.
Yes. Taking
Like,
away the classism.
yes, and it's like we gotta allow this to happen. Yeah, it's gonna be a little uncomfortable. It's scary. I get it, but my goodness, is what we are doing working is the big question. Like, are we happy with how things are? Are we happy with the spaces that we're locked into? Because I'm not. We also discovered today that there is a shadow. We have
It's a
shadow
shadow government.
senators.
Shadow senators, shadow. It's a real shadow government. We just
Yeah.
figured that out today by reading these Martin Luther King unclassified documents, coming across these words and these things of them saying he was involved in the what was it, a training school for communists, and it's a whole billboard with him on it that
Yeah.
shows that he's in class doing this with them. But when you look up communism and you define it, you can see probably why he was in there. He thought it was for the betterment of his people, but
Absolutely.
they used him.
They used him. They used him, and that's why he, at the end, he realized that, and that's why they murdered him. They didn't murder him because of what he was, what we consider his life work. They murdered him because he realized what was going on, and he was about to let us know what was going on, and that's why they killed that man. He, like you said, he was marching his people into a burning building. Like, I wanted to read this too again. The writing
Okay.
is just so hard to read, but I got it on my phone, and it says, this memorandum recommends increased coverage of the communist influence on the Negro.
Hmm.
The history of the Communist Party is okay, it gets a little blurry right there. Its attempt to exploit, influence, and recruit the Negro. They were recruiting Negroes into communism. So Martin Luther King's whole assignment was not liberation of his people at that time. It was to recruit Negroes into communism. So all these marches we doing, we wasn't marching for better wages. We wasn't marching because of the strike, the sanitation worker strike and all this other. No, we were marching for communism, and they're planning it and they're talking about it. They say the March on Washington on
Hmm.
3/28/63 was a striking example on how the communist activity as party leaders uh, on such communist activities as party leaders early put into motion efforts to secure gains for the CPE, Communist Party of the USA, the Communist Party of the United
Hmm.
States of America. Now, when we hear communist, people always want to say China, and I don't know. United
Hmm.
States has a communist party. Well documented information concerning the party's influence on a principal leader, Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., the party's influence on its principal leader. And we
Hmm.
got the Communist Party. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. is but an example. The presence at the they know they could have copied these
They
better.
wrong for this. They
Yeah.
wrong for this.
The presence at the march of around 200 party members. So 200 of those people at that march on Washington were communists sitting there just watching y'all, ranging let me see where to go.
You said it was 200,
Mm,
200 communists at at the March on Washington.
mm-hmm.
200, 200 communists
Yep. Yep. Um, let me
on the
see.
march on the March of Washington, right?
Yep, on the March of Washington, ranging from several national functionaries headed by the CPUSA General Secretary Gus. Not sure that character is yet, but see, these words are a little blurry because these old dark documents. So, but basically, what they were saying, this last line is a clear indication of the party's favorite target, the Negro. We were the
Mm.
target of communism. All indications are that the march was not the end of the line. It was the beginning of the line. That was the beginning of it. All indications are that the march was not the end of the line and that the party will step up its efforts to exploit racial unrest and in every possible way claim credit for itself relating to any gains achieved by the Negro. Do y'all
Man, that's
understand what
crazy.
that's really saying? They set us
Girl,
up, y'all. They set Martin Luther King up. They used him to set us up. And then when the brother wanted to double back and tell us that he had been teaching us wrong, they took him up out of here. Um, a clear-cut indication of the party's design is revealed in its plans to hold a highly secretive leadership meeting in November 1963, which will deal primarily with the Negro situation. This meeting is to be preceded by here they go. This is words like they burn this word out on purpose. Um,
mm,
bear storming. Okay, who does prepare by itself? No, remember me. So, who knows what occurred at this meeting. Now, it's interesting. This meeting happened in 1963, and Martin Luther King was 9 times out of 10 at this meeting because this letter goes on to say, probably in another screenshot of mine, is that they consider Martin Luther King the most powerful black man in America at that time. Not only was he a powerful black man who was leading the people, but they considered him powerful amongst all the other leaders.
sure,
And
that's something.
mhm,
Uh,
and that tells us a lot. That tells us a lot about what they thought of him and how they used him.
yes, they used our brother, y'all. They used our brother Martin. So even with all these unclassified documents coming out, y'all need to read them. Like, don't just take out the stuff because they put up that he was this and he did this and he had orgies. Let me tell you something. They set him up to do all that. They set
Oh
all
yeah.
that up so that he can look that way to everybody in the end. But the reason why they had to release these documents because there's truth in it. And these documents were hidden in J. Edgar Hoover's personal files. Why was this stuff hidden there? To
Mhm.
a man that was passing. He was passing for us at the time too.
Yep.
And she just said the Marks, even with Marks, what's his first name? Kenny, Carl?
Carl. Hmm.
Carl? Come on, man, was a brother. Is we not seeing our own people keep setting us up? It still be our own people. Because his own people was beside him watching this go down. Dirty dogs, I tell you. The what's the movie? The Black Messiah?
Uh-huh. Judith. Hmm.
Judas and the Black Messiah. Come on, man. All these Judases around here. Ooh, can't trust nobody. What Tupac say? Watch your homies. Keep your enemies close and watch your homies.
Hmm.
Cause baby, you thinking that your homie.
Yes, yes.
Brothers, y'all gotta be careful. Cause it mainly be y'all against each other.
And it's crazy. It's like, here's another line. Additionally, specialized instructions are regularly given in regards to the field on communist infiltration of the Negro. They came into
Yeah.
our. This is why we're so disenfranchised. This is why we can't connect. It wasn't even about skin color at first. It was about classism. They start passing out good jobs, and then it goes on. Because you had caught that when I read it earlier, where it was talking about allowing us into the communist meeting. What was that term that I used? Were read, but it's like we couldn't really join, but we could be there. They would
Oh,
like,
we could be sympathizers.
yeah.
We couldn't be members. Is that right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, but we can show up as like empathizers. So they weren't even real members. They educated them and then still you didn't have a vote. You didn't have a say so. You could just be here. That's absurd. That's absolutely absurd. And then when we go back to the 200 communists that was at the March on Washington, we got to understand that these were 200 black people, probably black men, 200
Yep.
black men that were blending in with us, just like us. But the difference is they knew what was going on. Those 200 members would be in on the secret information that they know that we're getting marched into rebuilding or helping to build America, because America had just lost a lot at that time. We done came out of the slavery, and now at that time we were building for ourselves. We were segregated, and then really who came up with this idea of integration? Now we got to question that because somebody gave us that idea. Why did we want
Mhm.
that whites only pie so much? Like your
Mhm.
grandmama made the best pie anyway. Why did you want the whites only pie? And your grandmama probably made that pie too. So it really,
Exactly.
that's the
Ooh.
absurdity in it all. It's classism and what it was. So we they convinced us that where we were was low, and there were the European, the white European was high. That's the classism. So now
Mhm.
we consider what blackness, our melanatedness, our greatness is a low place, and now we want to get up here to where the white man is. We traded everything in. It was a horrible decision, a horrible decision. Um,
Yeah. We gave, as the Prophet Noble Drew Ali says, we gave up our birthrights just to gratify our loose desires. We
mm,
so in love with everybody else that we really don't like ourselves like that, because we would rather fall into a lower energy and vibrate on a low plane instead of keep ourselves as royalty and as a Rotarian complexion with some morals and some principles.
mm-hmm.
We lose our morals and principles. That's why there were that's why those letters that John wrote to them seven churches meant something, because them seven churches was all doing dirties today. He had they wasn't doing right, only one of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Only one of
And it's like, and we look at these churches, and then again, they're always pointing us in another direction. We need to look at these churches and figure out where we stand as a people and where we stand individually as
them. It's
far as
wrong.
churches. And so we got, like you pointed out, that Church of Philadelphia is the only church that was really that received blessing without a butt whooping. Everybody
Yeah.
else had to get chastised for something. Let me see. And then we gotta just look at the way like this LG, what is the alphabet website? What are they? The LGBTQ. They add something to it every year, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But if
Hmm.
you go, have you ever looked at that website?
No, I haven't. I
Have,
haven't. I need to.
well, I'm sorry. I said that website. No, Black Lives Matter website. Have you ever looked at
Oh,
their website?
yes, I have.
Very, very LGBTQ is what I was about to say. Very
Yeah, yeah.
LGBTQ and Marxism all
And
over,
communism.
communism
Communism.
all over. But you see how they called it Black Lives Matter. They was doing it then, and they're still doing it now. You really think our people foresaw the world and the climate of things being the way that it is? Like, we ain't never been marching for no gay rights. That's not our thing. Like, but some of these executive orders that Trump is throwing out the door, all praises for that. They're heavily laden with this coded language that has nothing to do with us. I heard a brother break it down yesterday, and like he said, there's a reason that Obama called it DEI and not affirmative action, because affirmative action was historically associated with us, with the
With
melanated race.
women.
Mhm.
Exactly.
And so he didn't want us to get it confused. Don't get it confused. This ain't about the melanated folks that look like me. This is a whole nother initiative. And the DEI was about inclusion of the homosexual rights and the gender identification rights. European white woman. It was more about those. Like, we have not benefited off of those things, nor were we meant to. Um, we just really can't see the classism behind Section 8 food stamps. Like, do you guys do like y'all don't know that you got to be under a certain income bracket? It's not meant to help you. If it was meant to help you, then once I got a job, you would still keep giving it to me for a period of time until I got on my feet.
Exactly.
But no,
Exactly.
the minute I remember I was getting food stamps once, and I literally made $8 over the limit. And they cut it like really eight. So I'm $8 away from being too poor to take care of my family. I'm $8 over being too poor to take care of my family. And so
That's
you take
crazy. That's
that's
crazy.
crazy. It's
That's
that's
crazy.
crazy. It's $8. You took my food stamps for $8 being over. So what's the message there? Go make less money. If you want these
Yeah.
food stamps, go make less money and marginalize yourself in this 150 what is it, 150% below the poverty level. That's what they measure it on here in Ohio. I'm not sure if that's the mandate across all states, but they need me to be 150% below economic poverty to qualify for food stamps. That's insane.
And I just told you that our biggest issue is both economical and social.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest problem. But when you really flip it around, it's moral and spiritual. They
Oh,
both follow the same thing. The
absolutely.
morals and the spiritual part ain't there, so our economics and social part jacked up.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. It's messed up.
I think one of the great injustices that was done with this consciousness movement is that we totally threw religion away.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That we have always been a religious people. Religion is nothing but a system to keep you anchored to your spiritual beliefs. Now we know that they distorted it and tainted it, but that's what they did. That's why understanding these churches is so important. The seven churches is so important too, because one of them got it right. So it's not to throw the whole church away. What's that saying? Throw the water
Don't
away and
throw
not
away
the
the
baby.
baby with the bathwater. Don't
Yeah,
throw the baby away with the bathwater.
yeah.
Yes. Yes.
We threw everything away. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, that religion to me lays the groundwork for how we build, how we trust, how we connect with one another. No, now the government is our religion, money is our God. Like,
All of that. Yes. Yes. So I want to read about the seven churches if you don't mind.
go ahead.
Um, before you, okay. So the order of these seven cities representing congregations of the Church of God is that of an ancient mail route that connected these cities. Asia Minor. You heard me mention that in the historical message from the prophet to the nation, right? So believe me, these are current events. So this is biblically, this is in the Holy Quran, this is before this time ever existed.
Mm-hmm.
So how is this still in the same? Because we still following the same nonsense. We still on the same BS. We ain't changed our mindset. We haven't changed our mind state at all. So Revelations 1 through 20, a letter written by John. These were letters written by John, and I'm not going to go through all the letters, but I'm going to give you what John said in these letters, a little summary.
Mm-hmm.
The first church of Ephesus in Act 20. Paul wrote the letter of Ephesians while in prison in Rome. He appointed his protege, Timothy, to pastor the church in Ephesus. Timothy was then forced into exile on Patmos. Okay, so number two is the church in Smyrna, 40 miles to the south. Now, mind you, this is all over here because I explained this to you. This is like in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, up in this area. This is where this was. So it was on a mail route. We didn't have mail drivers and things like that. Mainly they were walking back then.
Mm-hmm.
But the church in Smyrna, 40 miles to the south, it was a trading city. Meaning of message, God told the members of the church of Smyrna that he knew the tribulations and poverty they have suffered. He also knew they were Jewish pretenders
Mm-hmm.
regarding this reference to those falsely claiming to be Jews. It appears that these people were the cause of much hardship for the members of the church of Smyrna. Now, this in the Bible. I ain't said it. It ain't something I made up. This in the Bible. This
Mm-hmm.
is the church of Smyrna. I ain't said it. They did. They
They
said Jewish pretenders. It's saying in the Bible.
Jewish
Islam.
pretenders.
That's all I'm saying. You can't be pretending and think God gonna bless you. It ain't right. Islam.
Islam.
He know what you doing, even when you think he don't see you. The church in Pergamum. Message from the one, this is the third church, with the sharp two-edged sword, a rich and powerful ancient Greek city. John's image as described as Satan's throne. A white stone, new name on it. The marriage of church with the world of Balaam, a non-Israelite prophet. Number 4, the church in Thyatira. Internal compromise, false teachings, and a willingness to tolerate sin deeply troubled God. Christ's warning and call to the Church of Thyatira, repentance, are relevant to Christians today. Even though it was located in the smallest city of the seven churches, John wrote the longest letter to this church. John wrote the longest letter to this church that most people, hey, I ain't said it. It's not speaking radical. This came out the Bible, so this is the truth. Not speaking radical at all. Because
Exactly.
they'll try to say you speaking. I'm not speaking radical toward no church. This right here is in the Bible, and you can look and see the way, quote unquote, not saying anything against them, believe me, but our quote unquote Christian brothers and sisters today are cool with tolerating sin, deep sin. They'll tolerate it. Come as you are, it don't matter. But that ain't God's law. That's not the law of the land, y'all. Like, no matter how much it might hurt your feelings, or you might not feel, hey, this ain't about feelings. Because God has no respect for person. I done said that a million times. He could care less about our feelings.
I mean,
When
every
he made
text
the
is
rule,
saying,
huh?
and I said every text to say he's not a respecter of person.
He's not. So I don't know where people getting it from. Like, even with our people, they think because they skin color gonna save them. No, it ain't. If your spirit ain't right, your skin color ain't about to save you. Your spirit and your soul need to be connected to the Most High. You need your connection to spirit. Because without it, you're just roaming around here like a field with a rabbit in a field with dogs chasing it. Like a rabbit in a field with dogs chasing it. Period. Unprotected.
Mm-hmm.
So when we looking at that, you think this ain't what's happening? You better repent for all the wrong you doing. Whether you think, hey, you better go back and read your scriptures and understand what's going on. So now the church of Sardis was practicing hypocrisy and lamentable decay in religion. One who knew that church well and all her works. Outward things appeared well to men, but there was only the form of godliness, not the power, a name to live, not a principle to life. This was your Greek Orthodox Church and Roman Catholic Church. I didn't say it, the Bible did. Once again, I didn't say it. I'm just saying what John wrote. So obviously, John was a forerunner to Jesus. He knew what he was writing. You know what I'm saying? He knew what he was writing. Um, the forerunner. So that right there, we can look at that now. Everybody's about their outward appearance, outward show. Oh, I got on Jordans. Oh, I got on polo. Oh, I got on this. And ain't none of that about to save your soul or your spirit.
Sorry, I don't cut down.
None of it can save your soul or your spirit. So that outward appearance means nothing. So you only got the form of godliness, not the power, a name to live, not a principle of life. And that's straight up. John knew what he was doing. The sixth church, here we go. The church of Philadelphia,
Mm-hmm.
brotherly love, a city of Lydia in Asia Minor. We just talked about Asia Minor in the historical message to America. He told you the Asia Minor, Asia Minor. All this happened over here, y'all. 25 miles east of Sardis. Does not receive condemnation from God. They are faithful. Yet, despite oppositions and persecution, he has set before them an open door no earthly power can shut. So he gave us the angel of Philadelphia. The angel of Philadelphia's name is William Steele from 1821 to 1902. What was William Steele about, Sister Shonda? Because William
Oh,
Steele did some stuff.
oh my goodness! First of all, he was a melanated brother,
He
and
was
a man that was in a position of power because he was able to operate the Underground Railroad. So that means he wasn't a slave. That means he was able to move amongst the European white people with power without fear. He operated the Underground Railroad, helping free black people from slavery. Sorry, baby. What you say,
us.
Corey? I'm sorry, I got my niece. I thought she was talking to me in the background. But to me, it was just another amazing revelation of a melanated brother in a position of power during a time where they tried to paint a narrative today that we were all slaves. So what happened? What happened? How did we go from nobles to slaves? Um, did I get a screenshot on him? I think I did. Mm,
Yeah, yeah, I think you've seen it. I wish I, because I'm on the phone, I can't pull mine up. But yes,
okay.
William Steele. I have to look up William Steele. William Steele's
Pull
brother.
it
Okay.
You know what? Let's try this. Let me just type in an angel of Philadelphia because that's who he was.
Yes, he was.
And by the way, who we got the Philadelphia going to the Super Bowl, right?
We got the Philadelphia Eagles going to the Super Bowl. We got them eagle feathers because that's indigenous to this land. The eagle, the feathers. That's what our indigenous people wore. The feathers.
And then, okay, an abolitionist, the Angel of Philadelphia, is the nickname of William Steele, an abolitionist. And using weird words, abolitionist, we automatically think pale skin. An
Right.
abolitionist who helped enslaved people escape in Philadelphia. He was also a leader of the Underground Railroad. He worked with the Pennsylvania Anti-Slavery Society and its black-led vigilance committee. He interviewed nearly thousands of formerly enslaved people. He recorded information about the people he interviewed to help reunite separated families.
Mm.
Beautiful thing. And then, there's that Philadelphia again. And then we also know that the capital of this country used to be in Philadelphia. Wonder why they moved it out of Philadelphia and moved it to Washington D.C. And then when I look at these seven churches, this is just Shondaism. My thought: could they not fully establish their wickedness, their wicked empire over there in Philadelphia? So they had to
Hmm.
move it over to Washington D.C. Just a thought.
Yep. Yep. You're right. You're right. Because even and you're right. No, that's why they did it. Because look at all the they were trying to avoid. They were trying to avoid, I think, persecution. So they thought moving it was going to stop it. They
Mhm.
thought allowing Benjamin Banneker to put that magic on that landmass, that it was going to stop what was to come. But can't nothing stop, because it said that God, yet despite opposition and persecution, he had set before them an open door no earthly power can shut.
Well, that's what you're
So
saying
no
is
earthly power can shut this door. So that's why that church in Philadelphia, this is why that's still the Angel of Philadelphia. It's still named the city of brotherly love, is it not?
it sure is.
Still
It's,
the city of brotherly love. So
mm.
that energy hasn't moved from there. It hasn't. It's just that we need to bring the energy back. We got to re-bring it back. We need to uplift it up out of there, out
And
of the
what's
depths of
crazy
where they
is
pushed it.
we got people in America right now, melanated people are people. That's really, that's the what's important at hand right now, that are losing their mind. Donald Trump is making this a Christian country again. What are you saying? Like, what are you
Yeah,
saying? He's not making the country Christian. He can't make you adopt to a certain religion. But what he's doing is moving these wicked principalities out the way and saying, no, we're going to set a baseline of righteousness here. We're going to stop
yeah,
doing anything because the creator, Allah, God, whatever title you want to give the source, it is not come as you are. That's not what is said. That is not what is spoken. That's not what's decreed. You will behave a certain way. You will live a certain way. And we have to go back to that because not necessarily Christian, but to be Christ like. Like
right,
Christian, that's really a slur that was just made up sometime along the way. Because to be Christ like is what we were called to be, mean to walk upright, to live circumcised from the world, not to say I'm not going to live up to the standard of Christ. I'm going to bring Christ down and redefine him to make him fit my wickedness because I want to be in my gender, or I want to hate my brother, or I don't want to build with my family. Like what have we done that we're upset because he said we're going to put the 10 commandments back in school? Like, what's wrong with the 10 commandments? Like, which one of those do you want to break? Like, because that's what I got to ask you. When you upset that it's there, which one of those do you want to break?
Exactly.
That's
Because
correct.
that's why, you know it, and that's the sad part. They want to be excused for breaking the laws of God. They don't want to be held accountable. So now it's not fair. Well, he's taking this and he's taking that, but you haven't even been committed to God. So why are you constantly thinking that man's supposed to be committed to you? And
Mm,
you haven't even been committed to God. You haven't even showed your faithfulness to God yet.
at
None
all.
of us have, because ain't nobody perfect.
Right.
So we all out here working out these same sums. But when you walk around thinking you're perfect and that you're not nothing else, but then you sit here and complain about what someone's not giving you. I never got Section 8. I survived. I didn't get food stamps until my children were in high school.
Honey,
I
this
survived.
stuff is this stuff is newer to America than we could ever imagine. What do you think we were doing before they started getting
These-
before they took our land and took our businesses and then gave us food stamps? Are y'all crazy? Like, come on. I don't want your food stamps. I want Black Wall Street back. I want Tulsa back. That's what I want back. I don't need your food stamps.
No, I don't.
Give me the freedom to build with for my family, for my
To
bloodline. That's
build
what I
my
want back.
empire.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
want eggs not to be $4 a carton. You know, I don't need your food stamps if you take eggs back down to 89 cents or $1 or whatever they was. Like we begging for crumbs. We are begging for crumbs. Um, I think I told you this before too about when I used to be a preacher in the Christian church. And my last sermon when I knew I was leaving the church was Matthew 15 verses 1 through 15, I think it was.
uh-huh.
The last the last line is even the dogs eat crumbs from the master's table. Now this is a Samaritan woman saying that. And if you know anything about those territories, this was a melanated woman. So she's on her knees begging for crumbs. No, 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 no. I don't want your crumbs. I want a seat at the round table.
Table. Not
Mm-hmm.
the square table. I don't want to sit at the square table with you. Give me the round table because ain't nobody sitting at the head of no table. So ain't nobody the head of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
When we put it the round table, we all equal around this table. Round this table.
Mm-hmm. That's that classism why they made that table square. To put classes, not only is it a head at the table, but then now we're gonna fight over who get to sit next to the head. You don't want to be in
That's
the
right.
middle, you want to be next to the head, fighting for titles. Mm.
Yep, fighting for titles. Those titles, which like it had said earlier, um, in the Church of Sardis, a name to live, not a principle to life. So they can
Mm.
spew these names and these titles, but you still have no principle to your life. There's still no principles going on. You know what I'm saying? That's really sad. Like, people, what is we doing? You want to beg to sit with them instead of saying, "Let me create mine," because they need to come sit with me.
Mm-hmm.
Forget about me sitting with them. And we don't even realize that we have the freedoms to do that. I just said that in the historical message to America, which is still the historical letters that were written to the seven churches.
Mm-hmm. Oh
But
yeah.
we save ourselves. You got to stop thinking somebody's coming to save you, bro. So everyone out here complaining, I'm still on what he said. Then leave then. You can come back if you want to, but you don't have to. That's
And
simple.
and even like, all
That
honors
was
to
funny to me.
our great leaders, and I'm not trying to take anything away from anybody, but even the way that Martin Luther King was able to be controlled and misled, and then he was able to bring that to the people, and we were so controlled and misled because nobody even researched what he was doing. We seen somebody sitting at the head of the table and we followed them. Nobody said, "Hey brother, like we might want to look into this. Hey brother, this communism don't sound like it's healthy for us." It might
Mm-hmm.
sound good in the beginning. It do kind of start off good when you first start reading that definition. It kind of make you like, okay, this ain't that bad. And then you get the social confusion and chaos because of classism. They need
Yes,
they need the
yes.
chaos.
They need the chaos. And that's why he said, that's why the prophet said that this organization is of a Rotarian complexion. And that had nothing to do with skin color. It had everything to do with within you, your principles, your morals, like your character. That's
Mhm.
Rotarian. Like your compassion for people, your love for people. This is Rotarian. This is what a Rotarian is all about. A Rotarian complexion didn't have nothing to do with skin. It had everything to do with your within, your God self, not your lower self.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So our last church before we continue is the church in Laodicea, one
Mhm.
of the early centers of Christianity.
Mhm.
Laodicea, a judging of the people, is the church that finishes the work of God. Please understand. So when you call yourself being so conscious, but you want no connection to God because you're just conscious and that's it.
Come
What are
on.
you conscious of? Of what?
Of what?
Of what? What makes you so conscious? Because right here, you can't just be conscious when you come in to finish the work of God.
Mhm.
Able to cleanse from the terrible sin of half warmness. That's that
Mhm.
shadow of the fence. That's that I don't know what I want to be. And God would rather you be cold or hot. He don't need no lukewarm. We don't need lukewarm nothing. That's when you spit. There's you're spit up and spewed out of Mother Earth. Spit
Absolutely.
up and spewed out. Cause guess what? You bitter to the belly. It don't even taste good, baby. Whether you be hot or cold. Whether you be hot or cold.
Mhm.
So even in that, they were able to cleanse from terrible sin of half warmness, self complacency, and worldly conformity. The city was a health resort to which sick people came from near and far to be healed. And we all sick right now. All of us are sick right now. We
Oh.
all need a place to go heal.
Mhm. And we
Because
can
we,
call it self healing all you want, but you need something else, another source to help you self heal. So it's not you, you're just able to access the source of that healing. Another
Islam,
thing on the Leo, pronounce that one for
Laodicea,
me. Laodicea.
Laodicea,
On a screenshot
Laodicea.
I took, they called them described as self satisfied people. You
Mm,
self-satisfied, and that's when you bring the standard down. You don't judge, you don't, no judgment. I'm not going to judge myself if I'm just satisfied with my state of being, because there's nothing to measure it up against. That's
yes, yes. I
mm-mm.
love that. I love that. Yes, yes. And in those churches, we can see where it's all about the energy. It's all about the spirit that could be in any of those places. It doesn't even mean that you have to physically be in that space, but
Mm-hmm.
your energy, your spirit, and your soul could occupy one of those spaces because we're energy having a human experience. This is just a form that we occupy, but the soul and the spirit are free to do their thing. We in heaviness when we in these forms. It's just heavy and we here and here. And we
Mm-hmm.
can move to a certain, but our spirit is, man, that thing is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful. So there is right now when we're looking upon, because I was even stating this, even as we were looking into the Martin Luther King declassified files and reading them, not just looking at them. We are actually was sitting there reading them, like, oh
Absolutely.
wow, this is what was going on. So it wasn't about the womanization and the. This is what he wants us to know. And it's
Mm-hmm.
sad that when they say if you want to keep something from a quote unquote black person, put it in a book. And it's sad that y'all hold that no matter how degreed up you is, how intelligent you is, nobody goes to read nothing. And that one part has what? It has like is it 3,000 pages? I don't know. It has
Um,
it's a quite a
a
bit in
lot.
part one. Then
Mm-hmm.
part two comes up. So you have to go in and read these things so you can see and read between the lines instead of just whatever they throw on this fake news and this social media. Because we even read through that there's fake news popping out, even through reading through the unclassified documents of MLK. But everybody wants to look at all the negativity toward the man. You need to look at what caused it. What caused it? The people around him that were a part of his come down.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is happening. This has happened too many times. Not even with Martin Luther King. We was a part of Jesus' downfall too, and I'm gonna put we because it was his people. From
Mm-hmm.
Jesus all the way down. Tupac, Malcolm, Martin, Keep It, Marcus Garvey, Prophet Noble, Drew Ali, Abraham Lincoln, you name it, it was their own.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Because
indeed.
just because you see them looking a certain way, I told you don't mean anything. The paper bag thing was a whole thing back in the day. And if you was lighter than the paper bag, you might can pass. But you really need to be some shades away from it because you can't be too close to it. And they were letting you pass. That's where this $5 situation comes from. When you get to pass, let me give you five. I got five on it. I got five on it. Just let me get five on it.
Mm-mm-mm. Then, Sister Tate, so I just read the end of another screenshot that I took, and it's basically saying the March on Washington. See, that was a social experiment, is what that was. That was a social experiment. And in
Mm-hmm.
that, what they discovered, they said the entire field is being altered. This is what this letter was about. What they discovered, this memorandum was about what they discovered when Martin Luther King, where they orchestrated pushing Martin Luther King to have the March on Washington. So after that was successful, what they decided is that they wrote a letter called the SAC letter. And they decided that they needed to intensify our coverage of the communist influence on the Negro by giving the fullest consideration to the use of all possible investigative techniques. So now they're about to start investigating how can we get further into these people's heads.
Mm.
Where to go? In addition, the field is being told to intensify its coverage of the continuous fronts through which the party channels its influence and to intensify the investigation of the many party members and to depict who in where I go to depict I lost my place on be writing. Who engages in narratives on behalf of the party in the field, in the Negro field. So that's basically them saying we about to plant some people in this Negro field. Now, Martin Luther King was already there, so they're not talking about him at this point. They done said, okay, this brother did it. He showed us that this can work, that they will follow a leader. They will follow a savior, y'all. So all we got to do is keep putting saviors in front of them, and they will follow them right into the burning building.
Yep. Yep.
And we're still doing it.
Still doing it.
Barack
We're still doing
Obama,
it.
the people's president. Jesse Jackson. Like how many of us done kept marching us into this economic
This
position?
burning house. They
Mm-hmm.
keep marching us into the burning house. They just come on, we're gonna keep going. Look, because I look like you. Let's go.
Let's
Oh,
go.
because she looks like us, we're gonna vote for her. Oh, because they look like us, we're gonna follow them.
Mm-hmm. Come on now.
No,
Not paying no
man
attention.
loves to follow. Man loves the prophet says that in the Quran. Man
Yeah.
loves to follow. He does not like to lead.
Mm-hmm.
Man loves to follow someone else. And why? Because we all have the same opportunities. Y'all act like we don't have these opportunities because that's where you place your mind state to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's open to all of us.
Mm.
The stuff that has happened, it makes you more aware because as you can see, it wasn't the quote unquote Caucasian people that was necessarily taking us down. Now they had their parts to play in it. But when we're looking at the director of the FBI and the Bureau of Investigation, that was a brother.
Mm-hmm.
It was not pale skin. J. Edgar Hoover was not a doggone Caucasian. That was a brother.
Like we really let them illegalize our skills based on degrees. So now I can't do hair unless you give me your certificate to say I'm qualified. I can't babysit kids and children unless you give me my grandfather born in 1913 was a plumber for I don't know how many years, and then suddenly they come out, oh, you have to have your master plumber's license. Forget that I done helped build this city with my plumbing skills. It's several projects here that my grandfather was a master plumber on these sites that helped build, and actually some of them they weren't built to be ghettos. Like one of them was built to be housing for soldiers when they came back.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
yeah, and then they ended up getting turned into projects. But he helped build those. So now he didn't help build a 500 unit apartment complex, but now he needs your certificate to be able to practice plumbing. Like this is what they did to us when they took away. Because really, them degrees, any rich person will tell you, you go to college to network. You don't go there for the degree. You go there to
That's
network.
right.
And
Right.
that's when you get to know people. That's when it's no longer about merit. It's about who you know. It's not about your skill. It's about who you know. Because when I was in college, I met Sister Tay, and then now that I'm out of college, Sister Tay is a CEO at this company. So even though other people are more qualified, probably been doing this for 25 years, that's my home girl. So now she's gonna make me the executive of such and
Come
such.
on.
Come on now. That's why y'all money getting stolen. This is why all this stuff is going on. Because heck, one of the reasons that sister gonna elevate me up to that position because her and I gonna go into cahoots together now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Facts.
Mhm.
Facts. That's such facts.
Gonna
Such
go into
facts.
cahoots together now.
Oh man, you so right. Come on, man.
Crazy
Come
sis.
on.
We got to come up out of this spell and see when you want to hate the president, when what he see, he knows that we are a people that have been crippled. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you got to take away the crutch to make somebody stand up and walk right. I know a sister that it took her years to learn how to walk just because she was scared to put the pressure back on her ankle. Nothing was wrong with her ankle. She did have a really bad injury, and then she went through her therapy, and it got to the point it's like nothing's wrong with her foot or her ankle. She's just scared to put her weight on it. She's scared, and like, no, he taking the crutches. Now I'm gonna have to reach out to my sister and say, how do we build? I'm gonna have to feed my sister because we don't got food stamps. I'm gonna have to help my family have places to live, because this is what we need to do. That's what we need to do. They don't do each other like that. Other nationalities, they don't do each other like we do each other.
No, they don't. They really don't. They don't.
Mm-mm. They gonna make sure they people got housing, the whatever the association, they place themselves in high positions so that they can pull their family. And they already talking about Barron Trump being president. The boy ain't even out of college yet. Now, not that that's gonna be actualized, but they know the position that that boy is in now. He's in a
Hmm.
position now that he's sitting next to Elon Musk. Like, so it's who you know.
It is. It is definitely. But even with them, I always say millionaires and billionaires, they don't have a high school diploma. Most of them didn't even graduate high school. They just have the intelligence. They have the
Mm-hmm.
intelligence and the merit. You feel what I'm saying? So it does make more sense to have merit, intelligence, and
Mm-hmm.
excellence.
Yeah.
It is. It really is. Like your what do I call it? Your oh I call it set etiquette. Your etiquette is important. Like, and I think we've gotten so far away from that as a people. You walk in places like when I went in the beauty supply the other day. This is supposed to be a professional place, and this is where I say it ain't just those illegals. You see
Mm-hmm.
other people talking about we're taking our illegals back too, and they other countries that ain't got nothing to do with Mexico and none of them.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow we taking ours back because there's been a gang of them over here for many, many years, and this is why you're stared at the beauty supply. They really don't want you in there. They just want your money. But they can have these massive beauty supplies with all of these products that you don't even own any part of, treat you like crap, but you'll continue to go in there. Nobody sits and says, hey, how can we come together and make our own beauty supply? When COVID happened, let me tell you how these folks I'm going to tell you how people acted in Atlanta. The beauty supply wasn't supposed to be open. It was not supposed to be open, but that bad boy was open. And they had a line outside. They made sure they stayed open, breaking all the laws. That's why she said, somebody asked the House Secretary, well, how many illegals are over here? Do y'all know how many are criminals? She said they're all criminals. If you broke our immigration law, you're a criminal.
You're a criminal.
So if you've been over here without your card, without doing what you were supposed to do, you broke the law. Period. We can't do that. I can't just get up and say, hey, I'm going to Europe and I'm going to stay here. I have a cousin, they sent his butt right back here and said, until you get your paperwork together, you can't come back over here. So guess what? He had to do what he needed to do because he know that's where he wanted to be. So he had to come and get himself together, apply for the proper paperwork to be able to move over there. We can't do that. So I don't know why y'all be so gun-ho on everybody coming here to do that. It's just okay for them to come here, not pay no taxes, be undocumented, and be making all the money while we sitting here paying our taxes blue in the face, trying to figure out how we gonna pay property taxes, taxes on our food, taxes when we go to the gas station, taxes when we go here. We taxed about 1,800 times.
Mm-hmm.
And you got illegals here that are undocumented that ain't being taxed. They got their fat wads in their pocket going to the check cashing place. It's unfair to us. When is it gonna be all right for us? When do we get a law? See, the DEI protected the Asians. That's where the Asian got their protection law from.
Mm-hmm.
Where you couldn't do nothing to them. They never made one for us because guess what? Inclusion and DEI had nothing to do with you while y'all crying about it. Because if it did, then there would be laws that protected quote unquote black people from being attacked by the police, from being attacked by the Klan, from being attacked by whoever they being attacked by.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody's looking into that. You want to talk about what's fair for someone else, but ain't no fairness ever came our way. Ain't no fairness came our way as Asiatic people.
Mm-mm. Not at all.
We've just been stepped on and treated as peasants.
And then as the illegals come over here, they get benefits. Make that make sense. How do you
Make
do
it
that?
make sense. They get whipped with a husband in the house. Because I've had to come in social services behind that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how do they get wick and they got a husband? Oh, because they're not citizens. Huh? That's what social service told me. Because they're not citizens and they're immigrants, we have to take care of them. Excuse me? I was born here. I'm a first class citizen and I don't even have the rights to help feed my family, but they do. I have to put the man out my house before I can get a Section 8,
Mm-hmm.
before I can get any kind of stimulus for anything. He gotta go, bro. You can't be here because the Section 8 on the way. Get your shoes out and your clothes. They can't know you stay here.
They can't know you stay here. Mm-hmm.
But it's okay for other people to come over here and do that. That's not fair, y'all. I don't care what y'all saying. None of y'all. And whoever's on this, get up off your butt and go to work. Like, because, hey, I've been trying to find one. So hopefully the DEI going away can open up me a job because I'm too qualified.
Right. Come on now, because that's the reality of it, is that you can't even find a basic job in a lot of spaces anymore because they're all taken up by and I'm not against people with other nations being here, but get here the right way. That way you have to go through the same channels that I have to go through to
That's
get your
all.
yeah, that's what I'm saying too. Like, no, if you know, or make them change the rules. If she can have her man in the house, then my children need their father in the house too. Don't make me chase my father, the father of my children, out the home. Now you done disenfranchised my family, you got my kids' future mental patients, and now my children gonna be messed up in the head on their way to your penitentiary now or something, all because you done broke apart the family and kept me marginalized. No, sir. And even some of them get money like grants and stuff like that coming over here. It's even more than just the crumbs. You're talking about business grants and all minority grants.
So why do you think that he said we're freezing the grants and the loans? Because they're getting all of this stuff. We're not getting it. We are
Exactly.
not getting it. Stop playing. No, you ain't. Show me somebody that got it. Because they keep talking about this $6,000 card you supposed to get for being on Medicaid or whatever. I don't know one person that got it. And
Yeah,
the
that was
elders I know that
Anderson.
got it, they got maybe $100 extra on their food stamp or
Wow.
$50 extra. They didn't get all that they trying to make it out to be. That's what I'm saying. So where are these benefits going? That should be for our people. Why you complaining? Have y'all went to ask social services where the benefits are? Have y'all went to ask the IRS where these benefits are? Have y'all done any of that? No, because y'all just want somebody to come and hand it to you instead of you doing the work on your own to make it for yourself. We must learn to become self-sustainable, or we're going to continue to get the abuses and mistreatments that are being bestowed upon us because we don't know who we are. We still black, Negro, and colored. Still.
Right. So black music, all three words, and I use it by default because it's just easier for people to understand sometimes. And I still need to weed and seed it out of my language. Well, black is a color. It's a color. That's another reason they get help because they're coming over here claiming a nationality.
And not a
You know,
color.
not a color. They don't come over and say me brown, give me food stamps. Like what the
Right.
heck? Like they, they come
Me
over
yellow. Give me some Section 8. They're not saying that.
at all, and it's like absurd. Come on, people, come on. We got to do better,
We have
and
to
we
do
about to
better.
have to
Cause,
learn to.
yeah. And it's going to be sad for those that just don't want to grab on and do what needs to be done. It's just going to be sad to see that. But if you're paying attention to anything that's going on, we can make our situation way better. And Marcus Garvey said, well, the prophet said, let me say this. The prophet said, if we think our condition can be better, even if we just think our condition can be better, this movement needs strong men and women who think their condition can be better. You ain't
Absolutely.
even got to know that it can be better. You could just think it. It could just be a thought in your head. Oh, we might could be better.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Just to think your condition can be better. But most of our people don't even think that our condition can be better. It's like they love misery so much. They don't, the happiness is so far away from them.
And then, really, when I think of the absurdity in some of the civil rights movement, like when I was reading the Dr. King documents, so he went to
Mm-hmm.
9 different cities trying to seek 3,000 people to go march on Washington. So we got 3,000 people together when we went for a long walk. Like nobody said 3,000 people put in $50 and let's buy some land. Like we
Right.
didn't
We went for a walk.
for a walk. Like we're begging. We're begging for crumbs from the master table. You got 3,000 people together and we can't, and then you got a leader already because we love to follow. So that means that this same leader could have said, hey y'all, let me even lower it from $50 because we're dealing with 100 years ago or however long, 75 years ago. Everybody put in $5. Everybody put in $5 from or $10 from 3,000 people. Land was a lot cheaper back then. Or let's open a store. Let's open a couple of businesses. And then you got 3,000 people to man and guard them businesses. Like we should have never stopped trying to build a Black Wall Street. I don't care if they
That's
burnt
right.
it down. We should have built another one. And then when they burnt that down, we should have went and built another one. Like because the thought was still there, the integrity
Yes.
and the ability was still there. No.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm. He that
Mm-hmm.
that while that march on Washington was going on, it was 3,000 people doing nothing.
3,000 people doing nothing. And Prophet Noble Drew Ali had 15 temples in 15 different states with over 3,500 members.
Come on now.
What's really going on? But we're orchestrating to go to 9 cities to get 3,000 people together to go on something that was orchestrated that wasn't even for real, correct?
No, wasn't even real. It was orchestrated, COINTELPRO. And if you read the documents yourself, we're not making it up. This ain't what we
Nope.
think. This is what we just read. And in
It's
fact,
in
I'm
the
gonna post
document.
it to my social media in case somebody might want to read.
Please. Please post it to the social media
Okay.
because I feel it's important. That's our problem. We don't want to read nothing. We don't want to read nothing. We waiting for somebody to come post it and show us so we can take from it what's there instead of like you said, even when someone's giving you something to study, don't just say like we used like I know I used to do in church. He might say Proverbs 32 too. All right, that's all I'm reading.
That's all.
I ain't even went before it. I ain't go to the beginning to see how they got there. I'm going based off of what somebody's telling me, and that's just belief. And that does not mean that that's the truth. That's perhaps what you think might be the truth. It ain't the truth though.
And
So
then when
yes,
you do the snippets and stuff like that, that's when you get to interpret it your own way instead of seeing what's actually there. Or they get to tell you what the interpretation is because you don't have context. You can't read one line of a paper and get context. Like you have to read the whole thing.
the whole thing, the whole thing. Islam, you do, you do. I want you to definitely. I want to read this other one, this other current event to us because it's definitely based on what we're speaking on right now. And like I said, these two different warnings or messages. This is a warning. The other one was a message, but this is a warning to us. And this was written back in 1927. But we can look at this 1927, 1929, and we can also take this to 2021. Islam.
Islam.
It's an editorial from our Moorish literature. A divine warning by the prophet for the nations, the citizens of all free national governments, according to their national constitution, are all of one family, bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the names and principles that delude to slavery. I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to the state of mind to their forefathers, divine and national principles, that they will be law abiders and receive their divine right as citizens according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. They are to claim their own free national name and religion. Our free national name and religion, we must claim it. That's why it says proclaim your nationality to be recognized by the government in which you live and the nations of the earth. You have to, because if not, and you're classified as not class, you're declassified, you're undocumented, you're any of that. You are classed as an undesirable, quote unquote, black, colored, Negro, African American, whatever you want to call it, whatever name they gave the slaves. I'm just trying to say you're undesirable because you're not considered a citizen, and you should be considered a first class citizen. Because as I continue, you'll understand why you should be a first class citizen. Forget what they talking about that you're not gonna be. Because then if you're not a citizen, you're undocumented. Where you going? Where you going? Because they about to ask you in a minute. Where you going? Because you're undocumented without a nationality. You're pretty much undocumented. Islam?
Islam.
So the prophet came to warn the people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to the state of mind of their forefathers' divine and national principles, that they may be law abiders and receive their divine right as citizens according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. They are to claim their own free national name and religion. There is but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and of the earth, and comes only through the connection of the Moorish divine national movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. We have to be recognized by all other nations of the world. This is why we know that we're Moorish Americans and not Indians, because Indians come from India.
It's
You
so
feel what I'm
simple.
saying?
It's so simple.
It's simple, y'all. It really is. Yes, we were tribes. Yeah, all of that. But that's not what those were territories. Cherokee territory, Choctaw territory. Go and look at these were literally territories
Mm-hmm.
that we came from. But we were already right here, you guys. Already.
Mm-hmm.
So this is incorporated in this government and recognized by all nations. You can go to the United Nations. They recognize Moorish American. They know that this is the Moorish Empire. They know what you see today as the Moroccan Kingdom, but this is the Moroccan Empire. They know that. So it's recognized by nations, not black, Negro, and colored, though, because they don't have no landmass to go to. And through it, what was you going to say? My apologies.
No, go ahead. I'm listening, sis.
Okay. And through it, they and their children can receive their divine rights. Their divine rights, not privileges, y'all. We have divine rights. Look up what a privilege is. Look up what a right is. There's two different definitions. You so caught up in civil rights, you don't realize those are privileges and not a right of nothing. It's not a right of anything. A right of passage is a right of nothing. Because when you
Mm-hmm.
look up the word civil, what does it mean? Then you look up the word rights. So are those really rights or are they really privileges?
Mm-hmm.
So, and through it, they and their children can receive their divine rights unmolested by other citizens, that they can cast a free national ballot to the polls under the free national constitution of the state's government and not under a granted privilege as has been existing condition for many generations. It even says your voting is a privilege, not a right. They made it a privilege for you to vote, not your right, because you're not a citizen.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have a nationality. You're diluting to names that dilute to slavery. So even when you go and vote, baby, it's really not doing you no good because it's just a privilege for you. If they just said we're going to give you a privilege to come, you know what I'm saying? They're going to give you a privilege to come.
Mm-hmm.
So, you who doubt whether I, the prophet, and my principles are right for the redemption of my people, go to those that know law in the city hall and among the officials in your government and ask them under an intelligent tone, and they will be glad to render you a favorable reply. For they are glad to see me bring you out of darkness into the light. Money doesn't make the man, it is free national standards and power that makes a man and a nation. The wealth of all national governments, gold and silver and commerce, belong to the citizens alone. And without your national citizenship, by name and principles, you have no true wealth. And I am hereby calling on all true citizens that stand for a national free government and the enforcement of the Constitution to help me in my great missionary work, because I need all support from all true American citizens of the United States of America. There's a difference. The
Mm-hmm.
United States of America and the United States. Two different things. The United States of America is what we should be saying. The United States is a de facto place. It doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you keep calling yourself to them, because that's who's calling you black, Negro, and colored.
Wow.
That's why they call you that. You don't have no true wealth if you don't have national citizenship by name and principle. And
Mm-hmm.
calling on citizens to stand for a national free government and to enforcement of the Constitution to help in the great missionary work. Because I need all support from all true American citizens of the United States of America. Help me to save my people who have fallen from the constitutional laws of the government. I am depending on your support to get them back to the constitutional fold. Again, that they will learn to love instead of hate. And they will live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, supporting our free national constitution of the United States of America. I love my people and I desire their unity and mine back to their own free national and divine standard. Because day by day, they have been violating the national and constitutional laws of their government and claiming names and principles that are unconstitutional. If Italians, Greeks, English, Chinese, Japanese, Turks, and Arabians are forced to proclaim their free national name and religion before the constitutional government of the United States of America, it is no more than right that the law should be enforced upon all American citizens alike. Because that's the truth. When they come over here and you come over here the right way, you're taking a test. You got to know that Constitution. You got to know what's in it. You got to pass a test to get citizenship over here because you must know who you are. You
Mm-hmm.
must know who you are. So if they got to come do it, why you ain't got no nationality? If they got to come and do it, that's the proper way of coming over here.
Mm-hmm.
You proclaim your nationality before the United States of America. You follow the laws of the constitutional government. You're a law-abiding citizen, and you can gain your citizenship. This is our land. We're already first-class citizens. They have to come over here and be naturalized into becoming a
Mm-hmm.
citizen. This is our nation. This is our nation. This ain't nobody else's nation. And when they got to give it back, they're giving it back, but y'all being resistant on taking back what belongs to you. That's the most goofiest thing I've ever seen in my life. Even with my own family, my own children, people I've grown up with, seeing the ignorance is just like, whoa. But you know what? I'm on God's side. So if that means I got to leave them to the side, they going to have to be there, baby. Because I'm not following into that pit no more.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not following into the pit no more because somebody else want to be there. Oh no. In
Honey.
all other governments alike, a man is born and raised there and asks for his national descent name. And if he fails to give it, he is misused, imprisoned, or exiled.
Mm-hmm.
I hope y'all heard that.
Mm-hmm.
That the law should be enforced upon all other American citizens alike. In all other governments, when a man is born and raised there and asks for his national descent name, which this could be popping off now, I'm telling y'all, run up on you. What's your nationality? I hope you don't say you from the state you was born in.
True goodness.
Because if you fail to give it, he or she is misused, imprisoned, or exiled. Because they place their trust upon issues and names that they are neither a part or a partial of.
Mm-mm.
Neither were they formed by their forefathers. Any group of people that fail to answer up to the constitutional standards of law by name and principles, because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your national descent name because they place their trust upon issues and names formed by their forefathers. The word Negro deludes in the Latin language to the word nigger. The same as the word color deludes to anything that is painted, varnished, and dyed. And every nation must bear a national descent name of their forefathers, because honoring thy fathers and thy mothers, your days will be lengthened upon this earth. So you see, you think it's just because it says it biblically. You have to follow your mothers and fathers of this landmass, of this planet, of what they placed here. You're not following them. You're following behind something you don't even know nothing about. You're honoring things of someone else that have nothing to do with you. These names have never been recognized by any true American citizens of this day. Through your free national name, you are known and recognized by all nations of the earth. That are recognized by all nations of the earth. That
Mm.
are recognized by said national government in which they live. The 14th and 15th Amendments brought the North and South in unit, placing the Southerners who were without power at that time. They were without power at that time, with
Mm-hmm.
the constitutional body of power. And at that time, 1865, the free national constitutional law that was in force since 1774 declared all men equal and free. Hmm. And if all men are declared by the free national constitution to be free and equal, since that constitution has never been changed, there is no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendment for the salvation of our people and citizens. Ain't he talking about the 14th and 15th Amendment? And y'all don't even really know what the 14th and 15th Amendment is about. But you swear it's about you. And it ain't. Because he just told you that. Hmm. So there isn't but one supreme issue for my people to use to redeem that which was lost, and that is through the above statements. Then the lion and the lamb can lie down together in yonder hills, and neither will be harmed, because love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice will be reigning in this land in those days. The United States will be one of the greatest civilized and prosperous governments of the world. But if the above principles are not carried out by the citizens and my people in this government, the worst is yet to come. Because the great God of the universe is not pleased with the works that are being performed in North America by my people, and this great sin must be removed from the land to save it from enormous earthquakes, disease, etc. Is this thing still not a current event to this day?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's been the same story over and over and over again throughout history.
Throughout history, this is the same thing we're going through. Has not changed for our people. And I, the prophet, do hereby believe that this administration of the government, being more wisely prepared by more genius citizens that believe in their free national constitution and laws, and through the help of such classes of citizens, I, the prophet, truly believe that my people will find the true and divine way of their forefathers and learn to stop serving carnal customs and merely ideas of man, and have never done them any good, but have always harmed them. Didn't we just say that about DEI? It ain't never done us no good. It's only harmed us.
Mm-hmm.
Affirmative action really never did nothing for us either. It only harmed us.
Mm-hmm.
So I, the prophet, am calling aloud with a divine plea to all true American citizens to help me remove this great sin which has been committed and is being practiced by my people in the United States of America, because they know it is not the true and divine way. And without understanding, they have fallen from the true light into utter darkness of sin. And there is not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, or economically, etc., in their present condition of their endeavorment in which they themselves try to force upon a civilized world. They will they will not refrain from their sinful ways of action, and their deeds have brought Jim Crowism, segregation, and everything that brings harm to human beings on earth. And they fought the Southerner for all these great misuses. But I have traveled in the South and have examined conditions there. And it is the works of my people continuously practicing the things which bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives the life. And I am hereby calling on all true American citizens for moral support and finance to help me in my great missionary work to bring my people out of darkness into marvelous light. From the prophet Noble Drew Ali.
Mm-mm-mm. All praises.
He was so intentional. He was so intentional that people
Yes.
miss it so hard. These people get this information and they just think because they can spew the words and it sound good and it sounds like poetry, but you haven't applied it to your life. And that's a sin. That's a disgrace to our forefathers and our foremothers when we're not following these divine warnings and these divine laws and this divine constitution with this divine movement.
Hmm.
And in a movement, we got to be moving. A movement ain't sitting still waiting, kumbaya, and wondering who going to give them something.
Right.
A movement moves. So to
Mm-mm-mm.
all my so-called conscious people, you need to awaken to higher existence because the conscious ain't working. Awaken. Be aware.
That's it. That's it. And instead of us panicking, we're still not coming up with a plan. Like and we're so scared. I just got a notification from Facebook and looked at it. Just the erroneous claims on what the freeze is going to do, and the federal judge actually just paused the freeze, so it's not even in effect yet. But
Mm-hmm.
here we are running around like Chicken Little. The sky is falling, and still nobody's planning. So even if he is doing the wickedness that y'all assume that he's doing, we still ain't making no plan. We
No
just running
plan.
around. Oh my God! Oh, look what he's doing to us. Like, come on now, people. You're gonna stand there and watch a car hit you. It's coming way from down the street, and you going, oh my God, this car is gonna run me over, and I'm not gonna move out the street. I'm gonna stand here. Like, use your personal power.
Use your personal power because we have it. It's in us. It's in us. And that's why when we were looking at those documents, it was just, it was very heartbreaking to me to
Yeah,
really know that these people set him up this way. Like
yeah.
they really did Dr. King dirty for him to do us dirty. But he really wasn't, I feel he was unaware that this was going on until it was too late. He was already too deep into it.
No, 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 no. And something I just discovered, because everything has relevance. He actually was born the same year Noble Drew Ali passed away. Transition.
Oh, really? In
Uh,
1928?
mm-hmm,
Wow.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I think
Mm.
I just screenshot it. I think it was which happened first. I think Martin Luther King was born in January, and did the Noble pass in July? Was it?
July. He passed in July.
Yeah. Well, Martin Luther King was born in January. Yep. January 15th, and then here we go. The Noble passes that July 20th. And see, these people play. It's relevant because they play with numbers like that. They play with energetics like that. So, it's the game. They took one great leader out who was trying to teach us to be a liberated people, a people that claimed their nationality, a people that were reaffirmed in their spirituality. And then, and another thing too, and none of these documents, I don't see them calling Reverend Martin Luther King a doctor. They reference him as
Nope.
Reverend.
Reverend.
Hmm. So again, it's the games they play. See, they added the doctor for us because we think degrees are important. that
Yeah.
that that doctor was to validate them to us. Like, so it's just crazy, and it is really sad. I stood up and started walking around when I read that. Like, they set that brother up, and he couldn't even see it coming.
Couldn't even see it coming. Mm. That's so sad because I feel like even when those Malcolm X ones are released and a lot of other ones, because I know so many more are gonna come out. Because he said he's releasing all of them to all of the leaders that were ever taken out. So it's gonna be, after reading even what we've read of Martin Luther King's declassified documents, and we're still not done.
Mm-mm.
Like, but to sit there and really read through it is that's heart wrenching. It very much is just, oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Martin Luther King. It just, it's messed up because then just the picture that they're painting of this man, of the womanizer and the orgies and the this and the that. And it's like, nah, y'all, it's deeper than that. It's so much deeper
Oh,
than that.
I'm gonna go get you another one. I'm gonna go get you another one. I poured a little drink. Um, yeah, and then it's funny because when I look at, I just asked AI because I was trying to find the name of the class or whatever it was we seen that he went to. And AI, Martin Luther King Jr. was never a member of the Communist Party. However, the FBI investigated him for his alleged ties to the parties in the 60s. Yeah, see, the reason they can word it like that and say he was never a member, because remember when we were reading it and you called, I keep forgetting the term where he was able to be in the meetings but couldn't be in the party, so to speak. You just told me what the word was too, but it's apathy, empathetic,
Oh, sympathizer. He was a
sympathizer.
sympathizer.
He was
But
a
he was in the communist training school. Put the communist training school because that was
communist.
the name of it. It was called the
Okay.
communist training school.
Yes, communist training school. Okay. Because that's crazy. And it's like, and I wanted to tell them that so that y'all can look it up yourself. Look it up
Yes.
yourself. Like, and then even just asking
Okay.
AI, they still told you the truth in their lie. Uh,
Yes, they did.
he was invest. He wasn't investigated by the FBI. He was set up by the FBI to be in
Yes,
this
he
party.
was.
There, it's in the documents. We're not making this up. The documents tell this.
It sure does. The documents say all of that. So this is not made up. Not at all. And they put him in there. When you see the picture of Dr. King, you see a couple of Asiatics in there, but it's mainly filled with, who it's filled with. But still he's there and it's solely him in the front row. They have a whole arrow pointing to him. A
Yep.
whole arrow pointing to that man.
Yep. I see the picture too. They got it here on Reddit because we were on different pages when you, or were you looking it up? I remember you mentioned the picture, but I didn't see it. But yep.
Yeah, well, when I looked it up, yes, when I looked it up, that's when it came up, and I was like, wow.
And
The
then look at, like you said, these are plenty of our colors just sitting there. And then you got the 200 members who was at that march on Washington.
March on Washington, because it says it. What does it say about that at the? Because yeah, the communism, and that's the picture. Let me see. Ah, that. Oh, I don't think they can see that picture. That's the picture of him there. This picture. That's the picture you see.
Yep.
Yep,
Yep. That
that's the
sure
same
is.
picture, and that's him in the front.
Right up
So
front.
Stanford University Libraries. It even gives his paper, the number, the communism challenge to Christianity. Author King Martin Luther Jr.
hmm
He wrote that paper in August 9th of 1953 in Atlanta, Georgia. It was a sermon.
And then apparently the class was held at Highlander Folk School.
Highlander Folk School. Where is that?
And this now this is somebody writing this, and I'm gonna look into it, but he's saying that a lot of our civil rights movement leaders were trained there. So you mean these people are coming up out of a training school? Do y'all see how this
See?
work?
See? So they're saying a lot of the civil rights leaders came up out of this training school. Why would they be going to a communist training school to
hmm
create civil rights? Now you see why I say you don't do civil. We have rights. We have human rights. Not civil rights. We have human rights. Civil rights are privileges. They're straight privileges.
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
Because it even talks about in this one, it says King wrestles with the relationship between communism and Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
So he wrestling with that. He having an issue with this right now.
Yep. Yep. Mm-mm-mm-mm.
Mm, mm.
And it's a setup. Like, yeah, we got to really look into what communism is, and we'll see that America is. We are. Trump's going to turn us into a communist. Where are we been? We've been communist. This has been a communist country the moment it was incorporated. And
I
then we got to
promise you.
look at that. We got one leader going out in 1929, one being born in 1929, and then we have this big national change in the 1930s, doing the reset.
Exactly.
So yeah, like that was the birth of communism. Mm-mm,
Oh, you so right. Oh my goodness.
mm-mm, mm-mm. See, they couldn't let the prophet move on over into this new era. They had to infiltrate his own people to get his own people to take him out. It's always your own, and we got to look at that story with Martin Luther King. They go, the oh my God, sis, the what's his name?
The photographer or
The
the driver.
photographer, the
The
killer,
photographer.
the
Yeah. Oh,
James
Robert.
Bell.
Yes.
They got this brother out of prison. They released him. Well, they say he escaped. They released this brother from prison, gave him a job because they know too much about this brother.
Yes.
You gave him all of this because if you knew all of this about him, then he wasn't on the run from prison. You got this brother's
Couldn't
whole
be.
record. How is he
Couldn't be.
running from jail and you know every step I made from the time I left jail?
Exactly. I escaped from jail, but I got a job. You know how much money I make. You done made a whole log of my spending habits. You've
Yes.
done all these things for me to have escaped. So really, did he escape, or they let him go to set this up? And when you look more into him, you see that that's what they did.
And he never, according to what I'm reading, he didn't, I'm not gonna say he never, but he didn't deny the shooting. He said there was another person shooting with him, is what he said.
Mm,
That's what the
mm,
documents say he
mm,
said. But they
mm.
said it was made, they said he was just making up stuff. He wasn't making up nothing because they had to be sure he was gonna do it because just in case you don't, they had a backup shooter.
They had a backup plan, exactly, in case you decided not to.
Hmm. How would he know where Martin Luther King was going to be? This is a criminal. How did he
Right.
know? You know, because he was supposed to leave at 8:30 that morning, but he didn't. So this is how you know it was a setup. So he was supposed to leave and go to a courthouse to fight of some fake charges they put out on him or on his political, not political, on his party to stop them from what were they trying to hold up? They were trying to stop another protest. So
Was it the
instead of
was it sanitation or was it
yeah,
something else?
it was a sanitation. I believe it was
So,
a
it was
sanitation.
sanitation.
And so instead of him going, his brother, I guess it was, says, no, I'm gonna go. You stay here. Or that's what he told the driver. He said, no, Reverend King's not going, I'm going. So now they done kept him at the hotel all day. And then they hold him up in a meeting in room 201 all day. And then he leaves that meeting and then goes to his room to go get dressed. And then just as he's leaving out with his partner, the partner stays behind and he walks out. And then to keep him on the balcony, his driver say, hey, Martin, I keep wanting to call him a doctor. They didn't call him doctor. Hey, Reverend, you might not want to come down here without your coat on. Why don't you get your coat on? Don't you, having a conversation about the weather. And in this conversation about the weather is when the shots get fired at him. They
Right.
set him up.
His own folks right there with him, set him up.
Hmm. Everybody knew it was gonna happen. Mm-mm.
That's so
Everybody,
sad. That's so sad.
Mhm. It is.
Because like you were saying, they had even documented every moment. Like if this wasn't a setup, why did they know every time he moved rooms? They know he went from 201 to his room. At 222, he was at his room. He stayed in that room for an hour. He got to his room at 302. Like, what?
Yeah.
How do y'all know all this movement with this man right now?
And your friends and family are not time stamping your movements. I'm not sitting here like, okay, it's 2:22 and Sister Latay's going to the bathroom. You know who does that? That's
Yeah,
not.
who's doing that?
Mm-mm.
And this is how they did him. Like they were that they caught him off guard so bad. But none of his so called homeboys or ride or dies was like, look, this ain't what we gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
We know what it is. We gonna go on and stay in this hotel over here. We gonna throw everything off. Like these
Mm-hmm.
brothers had a chance to throw everything off for Dr. King, for Reverend King, excuse me, for Reverend King.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So he was dealing with his Judases too.
Yep.
Because they just talked about the photographer. They was just saying how he was undercover. Everyone around him could have been an agent. Everyone.
Everyone. They had at least four agents around them. Now, I
Mhm.
did read that in the letter that at least four of the people around him on a regular basis were agents. Now, they won't name no names, and it's one that was specifically more effective than the others, and they definitely ain't going to leave that name. And I got speculation.
Yeah,
Who that
yeah.
was.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. That's why we want you guys to go and read it. All you got to do is look up the unclassified documents, the classified documents, unclassified, however you say it. When you look it up, they will come up, and you'll have to open it and download it from the PDF in order to see it all. But we do suggest that you read it. You gotta read it to be informed, y'all.
Yeah, you got to. You definitely got to because we got to stop letting them tell us the narrative and really get into it.
Yeah.
Get into it. Into it. The beginning of intuition. Yeah, that's the root word.
Get into it.
Yeah. So I hope somebody listened today.
I'm hoping someone listens to today, and I'm really just hoping that you like I said, we need to learn to listen to understand and not listen to respond to everything. Because like I was telling you about the podcast last night with Brother Rich, if y'all have not seen Brother Rich's podcast from last night with Anapul, oh my goodness, it was spectacular. It
Mm,
was amazing to see how he was bringing in so much of what you swear is against you that really was never against you. It was very a small amount of people that we allowed to trick our minds to thinking everyone was against us. But it was a lot of people working in unison with others to make this thing, to make it not be as worse as it really could have been.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And see, because also, this is a random thought that just came in my mind. Because he wasn't an actual member of the Communist Party, it too was deceiving to him. He wouldn't have associated what he was doing to communism when he's just being told that the way to liberate his people was through integration. Because he wasn't associating the integration with communism. But the FBI are clearly saying in those papers that, yeah, as the communists, we're watching him, and boy, have we been successful. Did y'all see that march on Washington? That's how they're looking at it. Like, now we have to intensify. This is their word. We have to intensify our investigative efforts and our implant into the Reverend King and other future leaders to keep them going in this direction.
Hmm. So they knew they were going to do it to future leaders. They already knew they were going to continue to do this thing, to continue on. But that's why you got to recognize the enemy. Was it you that said it? That said y'all need to put down that art of war from one person? Y'all really need to learn the art of war instead of just reading about it. Like
Yeah,
really learn
yeah, really learn it. And that's what we do. We sit and read. That's even like with the Christian Bible. We read about what Jesus did instead of not trying to be it. Like that
it.
wasn't the
Yeah.
point. It wasn't the point. It wasn't a point.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to think. When did he say that? I wonder when he made that statement. I'm trying to see when did he make the statement about the burning building or the burning
I
house.
think it was. It has. Was it like? Was it before his last speech?
That's what I was figuring too. I fear
I
I
believe
may
it
have
was.
integrated my people into a burning house.
Yeah,
And I just would love to know the date of when he said that because I bet it's nearing. I bet it's nearing where this end came in. Come on, my phone doing weird stuff.
okay.
Let's see.
I want to know. Yeah, I don't know what
Read
year he
about the
said
king
that.
how he was leading his people into a burning house. 1967. Look at that.
Ooh, 1967.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. Says he said it to his friend Harry Belafonte that he feared. He feared America was like a burning house. Yep, in 1967, it's not putting a month on it, but not on just, I probably can find it with further research, but yeah, on here it's saying in 1967, he said that, which was right before, I mean, he passed the first quarter of, they murdered him. Let me do not say that he passed. They murdered him the first quarter of 68.
It's 68 because it was April 4th, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure was.
So what many? I'm sure he probably didn't say that many months before, and he was bugged and everything. Because didn't they say that they had bugged his bedroom and some other things that they were bugging of him to make sure that they were following him? And Martin Luther King, he did not know that.
No, they got a list of the hotels in the documents too. On a page, the one link I sent you to take you to the page 73. If you click
Uh-huh.
on that 73, and as you scrolling through them pages, they'll have on there where the hotel rooms, like literally the locations and which ones they booked. And
So
I
they
think,
knew where he was gonna stay. They already had that planned out with the hotels, what room he needs to be in. Everything was strategized to
everything.
take him down. The same way they did Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Man, I tell you, when that's the conversation our people don't want to have. That is us doing it to us.
And the most famous speech he has, that I have a dream speech, here's what's absurd there too. That was a speech made in his earlier career. That was made in the early 60s. Why we still going out? Why we ain't going out something that he discovered and realized towards the end? Because they don't want us to know what he realized toward the end.
Oh, okay, okay.
And I wish I could find that month, but I bet it's towards the ending quarter. And that's when they now see, they done by this time they done gave this man a Nobel Peace Prize and all type of stuff. See, when you get involved with these cults, you don't just change your mind and come up out of that. That's why we got to be careful. We got to be careful what we getting ourselves involved in, what we're signing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because we could be definitely putting ourselves in harm's way just by attaching to these things. But like the way they came up on him, that's like, man, that's wild. Because when you're reading, man, you're right. When you first start reading about the communist training school, you're like, oh, okay, maybe it was. Then you start going, you're like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
this was not for us. But it was a way to get infiltrate us. It was a good way for them to send people in to infiltrate. Because
Mm-hmm.
if we're in there learning, it's a good way to sit someone beside us, make that our homie, and let's get it.
Let's get it. Yes, indeed. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Well, this is amazing, amazing bills. But I'm going to get back into those documents. I implore everybody else to as well, because it's
Yes,
a
let's get
lot.
into these documents. So that we can at least come in, because that's what it takes. It takes people, all of us, to take a piece of it. Even if we all read it, we're gonna all get something from it that we could come together and be like, man, did you see this part? Then it helps us to go back and say, wow, I didn't even catch that. I caught that. So this is why it takes all of us collectively to come together. And I really feel like by him releasing these things, it will make us stop provoking people, and it will eventually, I feel, drive us together, because then we're like, hold up, you said this, oh wait a minute, but I found that. Now we start to come together. Now we
Mm-hmm.
really start to build with one another, and we really start finding the solutions that we need. So,
Mm-hmm.
I trust that all people will find their way back to their source, find their way back to God in the best way that you can, because right now, more than any time, we can see, if you don't keep Allah first,
Woo.
the things that can seep in.
Mm-hmm. And that's how you see with this third eye, everybody keep trying to claim. Like, we supposed to be able to see through this. And like, even if I can't see through it, then my sister be able to, or my brother supposed to be able to see through it. And I'm supposed to have a relationship with them where I can trust their guidance to say, wait a minute, Sister Shonda, let's reread this. Let's slow down before we make this decision. Because it's
Yes,
not about
yes,
you. It's not about you. It's not about me. It's about us. It's about us. So yeah, rest, God rest his soul, because I believe he's happy on this day. I believe his
yes,
spirit is happy because we get it. We getting the revelation, and we getting, oh, I was deceived, and we can't judge him because look how foolish we've been. We've been deceived. We've been in
yes.
churches jumping and shouting for the last 100 years, and it ain't benefited us nothing.
That's
So
right.
yeah, it's nothing for us to get angry at him about. He did what he thought was beneficial at the time. And unfortunately, he had the wrong brothers and sisters around him. So that when
Around.
he realized what he was doing, they didn't protect him. In fact, they Judas, they handed him over.
They handed them over like they did Jesus. Yes, just handed them over. Hey, go hang him. He ain't our king. We don't know who this man is.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's why I said they took a king out, y'all. So they take we come, our kings come, and they still come and go even now. And a lot of them are in our youth.
Boy.
A
Yep.
lot of them are in our youth, but because they've been led astray, and because, as I told you about them churches and those letters, well, ain't none of us been on our up and up. Ain't none of us been right, and we gotta all get right. Because if not, we're gonna lose our next 5 generations of children
Mm.
to this nonsense.
Oh goodness. Okay, sis, I actually have a ride just pulled up to pick me up too, so I'm gonna have to cut
Okay.
out on you. But
All right. I will talk to y'all later.
okay, sis, I'm gonna check with you
All right.
later.
Peace.
Peace and
Okay.
love.